Hi, people of the internet.
I ain't doing this sober.
I'm drinking too tonight, which is unusual.
I didn't think you drank. What do you have, a soda?
Budweiser.
Oh.
Yeah, I drink. I just don't drink on the podcast ever. We just have this Budweiser left over from Thanksgiving. I'm trying to get rid of it. I hate Budweiser.
You know there's also the toilet or the sink.
Yeah, there's that too.
I would not throw away alcohol. Are you kidding me?
But it's Bud.
It's like alcohol.
Look,
it's cooking beer. It's what you use to it's a great turkey recipe that uses beer. There's a
Which you're supposed to cook a chicken by sticking it down over a can of beer.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
Your butt chicken is what they call that.
There's a restaurant here in Montreal that uses beer in their pizza crust, and it's amazing.
That does.
It makes it all light and fluffy because the carbonation sort of gives it bubbles. And anyways.
Okay, I wanted to let you guys know that we are live on Alpha Geek Radio, so do me a favor and mute your mics if you can. I've got a little intro to play, and then we'll start. So stand by.
Fine.
Where is the intro? Oh, there it is. Here we go.
This is Alpha Geek Radio. Visit tunein.alphageekradio.com to learn more.
The following is a presentation of GalacticNetcasts.com.
Attention, Galactic Collective. The SciFi Geeks Club is next. Please, stand by. You can take part in the podcasts by providing feedback. Send a message to galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. Call the voicemail number at 805-328-3966 or leave an audio message directly on our website, galacticnetcasts.com. We also invite you to join the Galactic Collective. All the information and links can be found at gncasts.com/Galactic Collective. That's gncasts.com/Galactic Collective. Now, without further ado, hear ye, hear ye! Another meeting of the SciFi Geeks Club is officially called to order!
Hello and welcome to another production of Galactic Netcasts. I'm Dave Nelson, along with my co-host, Brad Ludwig. Hello, Brad.
Hello.
Also joining us on the host panel this week, JF Dubeau. Hello, JF.
Hello.
Good to have you back.
Thanks. It's great to be back. It's been a while. I missed you guys.
And you know what? We always miss you, JF.
Aw, that's probably untrue, but very sweet.
No, you're always on our minds in some form.
I think of you often.
That's terrifying. Let's move on.
Okay. Our guest this week is here because he made a $5 pledge on our Patreon campaign, and for that we thank him very, very much. He's a movie fan with enough knowledge to get himself into trouble. He posts movie reviews as his alter ego, Stan the Movie Man, at stanthemovieman.com. You can follow him on Twitter, at MovieManStan. He's also the traffic director, movie critic for Midwest Communications in Knoxville, Tennessee, a company that Brad works for and a company I used to work for. Weird. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Geeks Club, Mr. Jeff Cutshaw. Jeff, hello.
Thank you very much. It's very good to be with you tonight.
Welcome, Jeff. And make sure you say hi to Red for me.
Yes, I'll make sure Red McMahon knows that you said hi.
Thank you.
What's your geek claim to fame, Jeff? Just curious.
Oh, just a fat kid all my life, so I had to bury myself in things like superheroes and Star Trek and such as that. and of course that continued on into adulthood. I think I was 16 when the first Star Wars came out. Saw it 3 or 4 times, and I'm pretty much just an idiot for that stuff now.
I was at Walmart tonight, and they have a brand new line of Star Wars shirts, and I was so tempted to buy one. It was like I felt like a kid again.
Well, T-Fury had out right after they introduced Kylo Ren's Tri-Saber, and T-Fury had a T-shirt one day that features the Tri-Saber, and I bought that right away.
Nice. That's quite the hit. People love that thing.
Yeah, and at first everybody was angry about it.
Well, that waned pretty quickly. I think people embraced the weirdness of it.
Well, I think the moment people like the big complaint is, oh, this is dangerous. You're gonna hurt yourself. And I think the moment people realized that the concept of a lightsaber in general is dangerous and suicidal, they went, oh yeah, well, whatever. Crossguard. It's no more dangerous than like that thing that has nothing protecting your hand from the cutty bit.
And
let's not forget, it's a movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's science fiction fantasy. So,
yeah, Star Wars' claim to fame and has never been logic. It's always been, but when faced between two choices, they've always, well, in general, prequel excluded, I guess. If faced between two choices, they never went, what could be logical? They always went, what is cool? And that's what they pick.
So, Jeff, what kind of genre of film do you mostly review on your when you do your movie reviews?
I don't limit myself to any particular genre. I'd review a good science fiction or fantasy movie every week if one came out. Unfortunately, I've had to review Fantastic Four and Pan, so yeah. But you know, I've Black Mass I thought was fantastic, and you know, whatever film strikes my fancy, that's what I go and review.
Okay, all right. Well, again, welcome to the SciFi Geeks Club podcast, where we talk about everything sci-fi related. We start each week by reviewing the week's news, and I was worried for a while that this week would be a little bit slow, but it picked up. A couple of stories caught my eye very last minute. This one actually hit last week, but we didn't do a show last week. But it's a big enough story to continue to carry over to the next week. And I know, Brad, you're a huge Firefly fan, so this had to really kind of get you excited a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, all right.
It's one of those things where I'll believe it when I see it actually happen. Does it interest me? Yes. Is it going to happen? I think once Castle finally gets canceled, because I'm not a fan of what they've done or are doing with the show. So.
Well, let's talk about it. Firefly cast totally wants to do a season 2. At the show's reunion panel at New York Comic Con this past weekend, stars Nathan Fillion, Gina Torres, Jewel Staite, and Alan. How do you pronounce his last name?
Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk reminisced about the show. And as it turns out, you wouldn't have to twist their arms very much for the cast to be convinced to do some more new episodes. When the question came up about a possible second season, the cast was definitely on board, but not without some prerequisites. Nathan Fillion said, "Full-time, please." Jewel, which says a lot, really, for a guy that's been working full-time for quite a while. I mean, how long has Castle been on the air? 5 years?
Oh, I think they're on season. I think this is 8.
Really?
7 or 8, yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that long. Okay. So he says full-time, which says a lot for a guy that's been been working full-time for as long as he has. Jewel Staite says otherwise they would cast new people. I guess that's a follow-up to what Nathan said. And then Gina Torres said, and nobody wants that. That one got a huge reaction from the crowd. So what they're saying is they would like to do a second season and not like a new cast. Which brings up the question, what would they do with Alan. How do you say his last name again?
Tudyk.
Tudyk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Alan.
Kind of like that, yeah.
Yeah, say it in a way that will make a 12-year-old giggle.
Or a 53-year-old.
No. His character was Wash, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So, spoiler alert: in the movie Serenity, he dies. So,
Anybody that cares knows.
Yeah.
Okay. If you've been holding out, too bad.
Yeah. So, what do you do? How would you get around that? Anybody?
I have an idea, but it's controversial.
Okay. No, that's why we bring you on the show, JF, to say controversial things. So, spill it.
Same way no one's asking to finish painting around the rest of the background for the Mona Lisa, I don't think we should have a second season. You don't mess around with a masterpiece. Firefly and Serenity are a beautiful series. They tied up most of the loose ends, killed off important characters in the process, and going back to it, there is no way they'll recapture the same magic a second time. It's doing a second season it has more potential to screw up our memory of what Firefly is than to actually add to it. I would rather see a spin-off in the same universe than redo. So that's how you don't have to solve the wash problem. You just don't even touch it.
Well, what about Star Trek? They were off the air for, 10 years? They came back with Star Trek the Motion Picture, which was a success, although it wasn't a very good movie. But that launched a whole new series of movies and other versions of Star Trek.
Right, other versions. What really made Star Trek take off? I mean, the movies were great, and we had a Serenity movie, but what really made it take back off and come back into the mainstream was Next Generation.
Mm-hmm.
And that is kind of what I'd like to see. I'd like to see more of that universe. But considering that so much of the story thread for each of the individual characters has been tied up and put to rest, you would need to basically wind all those gears back up again, warm up the machine once more, create new backgrounds, create new story threads for all the characters, and it wouldn't have the same magic to it, because we already know we wouldn't be surprised by seeing Mal cold-bloodedly kill a criminal. We wouldn't be surprised by any of the things that these characters would bring, because we've already seen it, and most of the mystery behind the characters have been solved. So what's left? Nostalgia?
I've always thought that. I've always wondered that, is Firefly such the cult favorite because it was only one season? If it would have been a success, like a network success, do you think people would love it as much as they do?
That's hard to tell. I don't want to theorize about that. I mean, I'd say the idea that it was taken from us is obviously lends it some extra flavor, I guess. But it was still a quality show, and it still brought a lot of new things to geekdom that we didn't have before. It broke a lot of tropes, created some new ones. So I think it would still have had a good run. It would still be a beloved show. But then again, I mean, I'm going to backtrack on what I just said. I mean, one of the reasons why, I mean, it didn't catch on television that much, so somewhere it didn't grab us immediately. It needed to be taken away before we realized we loved it, so...
I'd love to get Jeff and Brad's opinion on this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just taking up all the time.
No, it's okay. No.
As I do.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't see it happening, for one thing, simply because it wasn't a hit on network and it wasn't a hit in theaters. They might, maybe, for a shoestring budget, be able to do something for Netflix or Amazon, but as far as getting back on Fox or any other network, for that matter, I don't see that happening. As far as what to do with Wash, I like the moving forward with, say, Mal turning over control of the ship to a different crew where he's a cameo in the father figure type in the first episode. Or what you do is you do the time between the end of the series and the movie, so that Wash is still alive, as is Preacher, because I think he dies in the movie as well.
But what about the age issue? Because it's been 10 years or more since the show went off the air, right?
Agreed, and I don't think true hardcore Firefly people will care.
I think you're right.
But I don't think there's enough of them to justify doing it.
How much time was between the last episode of the only season and the movie?
Couple of years, anyway.
Yeah, it was at least 2 years. It was at the point where it was released on DVD finally, and the sales were so strong. It was the most sold. I think it was in one day they sold the most copies of a DVD series ever with Firefly. And then they had some clout to come back to the table and go, okay, we just want to wrap things up in a movie. And they were backed.
What was the time on the series, though? Between how much time was supposed to have taken place in that gap?
They don't really say.
I don't think it's mentioned.
Yeah.
They just kind of pick up at the beginning of the movie with what Summer Glau's character was in some sort of. No, I think I'm conflating some things.
They were. Well, it starts with the hologram representation of the situation where she was removed from the facility, and then they jump to the robbery of the bank.
Right.
Oh,
the first scene is kind of her in school or something.
I thought that was a hallucination. It's been so long since I've seen it, I don't remember.
It's a good excuse to watch it again.
Yeah, it's true.
I got a way to bring back Wash. You could either make him, without doing the time between the series and the movie, you could do either an android or a hologram version of Wash.
No, I got it. Nathan Fillion comes from a soap opera background. Have Wash's twin brother show up.
Yes! Perfect!
I think that it would, with what Blue Sun was doing with advanced reprogramming brains and stuff like that, I could see cloning or something being brought into there, and Wash having secretly been a part of something.
Apart from a Firefly fan, who would clone Wash?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is they would probably retcon some of his history, because we don't know that much about Wash's history. So
right.
there's room on that palette.
Well, we'll see what happens with this. You never know. Crazier things have happened.
Yes.
Okay, let's ask the listeners, how would you feel about a Firefly Season 2? Let us know. Email galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. You can call our voicemail number right now, and if you want, it's 805-328-3966, 805-328-3966, and leave us a voice message and let us know either nay or yay. What do you want? Let's talk about the comic book movies. Thor Ragnarok is bringing in the Hulk. This was just confirmed. I saw the story. This is not the story in our little rundown. This is a different story. But I saw a story tonight that it's been confirmed that Mark Ruffalo and the green what's this? What do they call him? It's in the article here someplace.
Monster?
No, I know he's a monster. Come on.
What? The Hulk? You don't think the Hulk is a monster?
No. I know he's a monster.
Oh, the green Goliath.
Green Goliath. Thank you.
I knew it was alliterative. I knew it'd be alliterative.
Of course, it has to be.
That's how
comic books, after all.
Yep.
So, according to Birth Movies Death, what am I saying here? What am I doing? What am I doing, Brad? Help me out. What do you know about this?
Well, looking at the story here, let's see. They're hearing lots of stuff about the the movie, including the rumors that the Hulk will be in it. According to Birth Movie's Death, I can't pronounce his last name, but the director for the film will be lightening up the supposedly ultra-dark script by Christopher Yost. The rumored plot is that Thor and Hulk somehow battle the Valkyries and potentially join up with Valkyrie, a Marvel superheroine, who has been seen alongside Doctor Strange and the Defenders, but in different contexts. She's kind of similar to Sif, and the MCU has already have a Sif. So why introduce Valkyrie? That's a very, very good question. It could be because her primary adversary is the Enchantress, a character that has been long rumored for an MCU prominence. You also have to think that Ragnarok will be the place that we wrap up the storyline where Loki has taken over the throne of Asgard, posing as his father Odin.
I just think it's cool that the Hulk, which is an Earth hero, is going to be going into outer space, into other planets, or onto other planets.
Well, when you look at in what we saw in the second Thor film, you've got Surtur and some of the other major creatures in the Asgardian mythos that you would need the Hulk. You would need a character that has an inordinate amount of strength that could handle something like that. So I think that's a good fit.
I'm trying to find the story that I saw earlier confirming that Ruffalo was going to be on the film.
And just from a narrative point of view, I mean, there's only so much you can do with the Hulk Earthside because they've painted him as such an unstoppable force that I find the idea of actually bringing him into, especially considering the movie's called Ragnarok, so I'm thinking this is like apocalyptic level events involving Asgardian gods. Bringing the Hulk into that realm basically puts him like on equal footing with his adversaries and whoever else is going to be involved. So it brings something that you don't see in your normal garden variety Hulk storylines, which is actual peril. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, because pretty much he can kick anybody's ass on Earth, right?
Exactly. That's a problem in storytelling. When your 12-year-old and you're creating a character saying that, oh, he's unkillable and he's super strong, he can beat everyone, sounds super cool. But when you're writing an actual story with a character like that, you're missing something kind of important, which is the challenge for the character. And this is why Superman is so hard to write for and why the Hulk is so hard to write for. But they've established repeatedly that the Hulk and Thor are roughly on the same power level, especially in the final battle in the first Avengers. So the idea of transplanting the Hulk into Thor's universe, even briefly, is actually pretty cool. It's a good way of incorporating that character.
Well, the power level, don't be misled by that thought. The angrier that the Hulk gets, the stronger he becomes. So his strength far outclasses, and I could dig up some stuff. His strength, he maxes out far beyond Thor.
And let's not forget that side punch from the Avengers. I mean,
well, to be fair, he caught him off guard.
True, but he still sent him across a room and through a wall.
But that's the thing. He would have done that to any other Avenger, and that Avenger would have been a splat on the wall. Thor survives this and doesn't start a world war trying to kill the Hulk for it. Somehow they're still eating freaking shawarma at the end together. And that's the whole point. Like, even if the Hulk gets angry enough that he can start tearing down every Asgardian at once, that's not been established in the movies, so they can sort of skirt around that. And it is still a better environment to give the Hulk a challenge than having him like in suburbia.
Oh yeah, being able to let loose in the Elysian fields and whatnot. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you guys want to hear
the destruction as he wants.
You guys want to hear the story that the confirmation?
Yes, please.
So according to Variety, Mark Ruffalo is in final negotiations to appear as Bruce Banner, a.k.a. the Hulk. opposite Chris Hemsworth in the third Thor film. That's a mouthful. This follows recent unconfirmed talk, still unconfirmed, that Thor Ragnarok features a cosmic road trip with Thor and Hulk that will see the Asgardian characters Valkyrie and the Enchantress making their big screen debuts. That's it. That's the confirmation. He's in final negotiations, according to Variety, which is pretty good. That's pretty good confirmation right there.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
All right. Any final thoughts on this story? You guys want to move on?
No, I think the only thing I have to say, I think this is going to be the first Thor movie that I'm actively looking forward to, because there's no way they're not going to cut loose as far as combat in a way that, how can I say, in most of these movies, we kind of demand more of a plot, but I don't think that's going to be as necessary. This demands to be a spectacle, and if it is a spectacle, I think people will be happy with it.
Let's move on from one big monster to a couple other big monsters. King Kong, Godzilla. How would you like to see those two in the same film?
Yes, I would be interested to. They've increased Godzilla's size over time in the movies, so I would like to see how they make King Kong that huge.
Well, you're in luck, Brad, because Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures are officially mapping out their new cinematic universe.
Huzzah!
Everybody wants to and is having a cinematic universe these days, centered around the two creatures. All-powerful monsters become towering heroes for a new generation, revealing a mythology that brings together Godzilla and Legendary's King Kong in an ecosystem of other giant super species, both classic and new. Monarch, the human organization that uncovered Godzilla, I almost said Goliath, in the 2014 film, which I have yet to see, will expand their mission across multiple releases. Stated a release from the studios. You'll have to excuse me. I don't normally drink beer or alcohol during podcasts, so
it's not even Canadian. It's not even Canadian beer. What are you, a lightweight or something?
Well, Canadians love Budweiser. They love American beer, and a lot of them think that it's from.
They do. I don't know.
In Ontario, they do.
I'm
Perhaps
not a beer drinker. So I wouldn't know.
I don't know about Quebec. It might be different there.
Quebec, we have a lot of microbreweries, and that's usually where most people.
No, that's what I usually drink too. I never drink American beer, but this is leftover Thanksgiving beer right here.
Ooh,
so back to the monkeys and lizards fighting.
Yeah.
Who cares about this?
So the initial trio of the films will kick off with Kong, Skull Island on March 10th, 2017, Godzilla 2 on June 8th, 2018, and then Godzilla vs. Kong arrives in theaters in 2020. While Legendary maintains its new home at Universal Pictures, the Godzilla films remain in partnership with Warner Brothers, who will now also distribute Kong as part of this franchise. Kong Skull begins production on October 19th, so that's only a few days away, right?
Right. Yeah.
4 days away.
Oh, yes.
Exciting stuff. How do you guys feel about this?
I'm indifferent, to be honest. I enjoyed the Godzilla movie you haven't seen yet. Although there's not nearly enough Godzilla in it. And if it makes sense for Kong and Godzilla to be together, this isn't like back in the 60s when Toho Studios was just throwing together any two monsters and letting them knock down all the cardboard buildings. It's got to make sense. And if it doesn't make sense, no matter how much money they spend on it, people won't go see it.
No, it's very true. Very true.
JF, how do you feel? What you have strong feelings about this? Don't care?
I don't have very strong feelings, although now the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm interested. And here's why. I kind of actively don't care about either of the monsters individually, or even like seeing them fight each other. If I want to see big things fight each other, I'd rather throw more money at Guillermo del Toro so he can do more Pacific Rim. However, what I find interesting is that they're building off of the Godzilla movie that came out earlier in past years, and adding another giant monster and probably enemy giant monsters. So basically, if you look at it from another angle, yes, there's going to be big monsters fighting each other, but they're going to have to develop the storyline and the world around what happens to us people, what happens to human civilization if we live with the knowledge that there are giant monsters that can pop out of the ocean or Skull Island, I guess, and start wreaking havoc. How does that change civilization? And now I'm curious. Now I'm interested to see, like, do we start gearing our military towards taking care of that? What happens if we do have a specialized military to fight Godzillas? And what happens next time Godzilla does show up? Do we take him down? There's a lot of potential that goes around the idea of Godzilla punching King Kong that is not just that fight. And if they do that correctly, if they make that interesting, then I think it could be a cool franchise.
And that's kind of what they did with the 2014 Godzilla, right? It was more of a human story than a Godzilla story, correct?
Yes.
Right. Maybe a bit too much. I don't know.
There's just no pleasing you.
There is no. Clearly, this explains everything in my life.
Well, I hope I don't give too much away, but the only reason Godzilla showed up in the first film was because of the other giant monster.
Mothra, right?
No, not Mothra.
No, something called a Mudo or something.
Yeah, well, they have an acronym, Mudo, something like that. But that's why he showed up in the first place, because he felt the vibrations of this other monster. So he was protecting, or he just has a natural instinct to go after these other giant creatures.
So he was Vibe then, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Sure.
This is a DC Universe property. DC Comics universe.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I was
I'll just have to trust you on that one.
Thanks, Brad.
I got you back.
Did they change the origin story of Godzilla in the 2014 movie?
I'm not sure. I think they kept it very vague.
Yes, they did. He wasn't necessarily a creature created by atomic energy or nuclear blasts. However, they implied that he fed on the energy.
Okay.
Along with the other giant monster.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
And of course, breeding, which seems to always be somewhere in these stories.
Well, yeah.
Well, that's the closest thing to sex they can do in one of these movies.
Giant monster sex.
The circle
Sold.
of life.
Oh, yeah.
It moves us all.
So this is not in the rundown, but since we mentioned franchises and shared universes, you know that they're doing a Universal Monsters like Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein, the Wolfman. They're rebooting that into its own universe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they tried that before.
And it's going to be a coin toss to see if it's any good.
Huh.
And yeah, I'm skeptical on that one. I try to be an optimist about things, and I can see how it could be good, but it would be so easy to make it very cheesy.
Do you think?
Well, the Hugh Jackman movie, where he was hunting Dracula from 4 years ago.
Van Helsing. Yeah.
Van Helsing, yes, that was the
terrible.
first attempt to do that.
Oh.
They were going to. That was the kickoff of a franchise.
Oh.
And it did not do well. There was even talk of like a theme park based on the sets of the movie. Again, you haven't seen that, have you?
I have not.
Nope.
No, I didn't mean the movie. I mean the franchise and the theme park.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Cool set pieces, just no substance to it, which was unfortunate. Good popcorn movie, I guess. I mean, the action scenes were decent, but there's nothing to build a franchise on.
No.
Okay, let's move on to our final news story this week. Fox and Marvel teaming up for 2 X-Men television shows. And I don't want to talk about the rumor that the Fantastic Four was coming back to Marvel, because that turned out to be a dead end. That was strictly a rumor.
Yeah,
Yep.
wishful thinking on some blogger's part.
Yep.
I love how they connect the dots and they go, oh, this has got to be true.
Well,
Yeah, that whole
it
time
brings
I'm
clicks,
like,
doesn't it?
No.
Worked on me for a little while.
Yeah, I was hopeful for a moment, for a second, but then I'm like, you know what? I read a few more stories, because you can't just read one story. You have to kind of follow the breadcrumbs, and you'll find the truth eventually.
Yeah, but journalists have become absolutely useless because all they do, I mean, their one job is vetting the information and doing the research so that we don't have to, and they don't do that, and now we have to visit 25 sites before we know what the truth is, wait 4 hours so that any rumors get dispelled, and then we can know the news.
Mhm.
So you know what, journalists, come on, pick it
And
up.
it's making my job hard, because I was this close to putting that story into this podcast tonight, but then I found the actual story saying, no, it's not. That's not true. Thank God, because I'd feel stupid, you know? Like, I don't want to spread misinformation. That's not cool. Not cool.
I personally think that there exists a sort of golden apple that a media company could get, where they basically create some kind of magazine, newspaper, website that will dig for us, and even though we wouldn't necessarily get the news the moment it breaks, the news that we would get would be accurate, reliable, and I think that now, with the climate of how news is so untrustworthy these days, that media would just make bank.
It would be like a Snopes for news.
Exactly. You know, well designed, because the problem with Snopes is that it's not very well managed. Doesn't have any production value.
You know what they should do? They should team up with Facebook and make it a part of the newsfeed, like ingrained in the newsfeed. Like, if you post a story, you know how they have those bonus stories? If you click into a story and then they'll come back and there'll be like related stories, that could be like the first one saying, no, this thing that you just read is incorrect.
Oh, absolutely.
I wasted all that time reading that thing that wasn't correct.
I'm serious. Like, and I'm sure that there are a million, well, maybe not a million, but thousands of journalists who want to do their goddamn job instead of having to create like the most clickbaity stories as fast as possible, just to get revenue. But people that actually went to journalism school, that have been trained to do research, trained to get the information, giving them a platform to actually do their job, I think there are a lot of journalists that are just waiting for that opportunity. And this is so off subject, but anyways.
No, that'd be a great idea. I'm totally on board with that, Jeff. So,
but I'm not Rupert Murdoch. I can't finance this. I'm sorry, Dave.
Well, you might win the lottery and have the chance to start it. And if that happens, hire me, because I would, because I can work in Canada now.
Yeah, and you've got radio voice, so.
Yeah. So okay, the actual story is there's going to be 2 TV series that Marvel and Fox, actual Marvel Studios and Fox, are teaming up to make. This is not like Marvel just putting their name on it. They're actually working together on these 2 TV series.
Nice.
It doesn't look like there's going to be an X-Men crossover like the deal that they've made with Sony, where they share that character. But at least they are working together, which means something. Maybe it'll be more somewhere down the line. So one of the series, which has the working title Hellfire, is coming from Fox. Brad, do you want to cover this since you are the comic book guy?
Sure. Fox and Marvel team up for 2 X-Men television shows. While it's not quite the level of deal made earlier this year with Sony regarding Spider-Man, it's still some progress. The fact that these two studios are working together could be a sign that they have or are building towards a healthy working relationship. One series, which has the working title Hellfire, is coming to Fox, while the other, Legion, will come to the more adult-themed FX network. Although and there's good reason for it. Although these new X-Men series will be separate from the MCU, they could be set within Fox's X-Men movie universe. Hellfire follows the young special agent who learns that a power-hungry woman with extraordinary abilities is working with a clandestine society of millionaires known as the Hellfire Club to take over the world. Hellfire expands on the Hellfire Club introduced in X-Men First Class, led by Kevin Bacon's Sebastian Shaw.
So Hellfire takes place in the 60s, which is pretty awesome.
Yep.
Not only will it be a superhero show, it'll be a period superhero show, which I'm all in favor of because I love Agent Carter, and just the look of it, the look of the 1960s and superheroes makes it pretty cool.
It does. And Legion will introduce the origin story of David Haller, who's a diagnosed schizophrenic, but after meeting a fellow patient, learns that he may not suffer from mental illness after all. He's a mutant. In Marvel Comics, Haller, who later takes on the codename Legion, is the long-lost son of X-Men founder Charles Xavier. As a teenager, David's powers become too strong and uncontrollable, and his multiple personalities emerge, each seemingly controlling different mutant superpowers.
Holla!
Yeah.
Have you read those? Have you read these? Are these proper titles? Comic book titles?
Well, they're either a character or a group that has been a part of the Marvel, like the X-Men history, more than anything else. The Hellfire Club was instrumental in creating the Dark Phoenix, which Jean Grey's alter ego, who ends up
dead.
Yeah, eventually being killed by her fiancé, Scott Summers. Yeah, some pretty serious stuff happened there. And Legion actually brings about a complete change in the Marvel Universe and brings about what's called the... was that the Age of Apocalypse? I think that's what it was. Yeah,
Is that related to the actual apocalypse? Like from the character Apocalypse?
Yeah. Gosh. The storyline I'm thinking of took place in 1995, 96, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And basically, I believe that Legion is sent back in time. He kills Xavier, and it changes everything. And Apocalypse comes to power. And Wolverine gets one of his hands cut off. And he ends up in a relationship with Jean Grey, and it just completely remapped the Marvel universe for a period of time. So.
Gee, comic book universe being rebooted? That never happens.
Well, it was a short term. Gosh, I want to say it was a 4-month event.
Oh, it's one of those deals. Okay. So it wasn't a permanent thing.
No, it wasn't permanent. No.
Okay.
Right. And it introduced us to the character Blink, which she only appears for a short period of time, but she was so beloved that they.
That's funny.
People petitioned to have her come back as a comic book hero, and they did a series called Exiles, which was mutants jumping through different Earths, essentially. Marvel Universe that we read is, well, now that they've rebooted everything, I don't know what that is, but at the time, Universe 616 is the one Marvel Universe that we read our normal comics in.
Mm-hmm.
And so they ended up creating a team of inter-universal, like, it was like sliders, essentially. They were jumping to different Earths and righting wrongs, getting involved in stuff, and Blink was reintroduced. So.
Okay. Since we're on the subject of superhero TV shows, is everybody caught up with, is everybody watching The Flash and Arrow, or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Let's go around.
I haven't seen. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I haven't seen the most recent episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'll catch it on Hulu here in a day or two. And sadly, I have not been watching Flash or Arrow. I know. I like Gotham. I know that puts me in the minority.
No, dude. This year that show is effing awesome. It's so over the top, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're doing something that's very unique because it seems like a combination of like the 1980s, 90s like Batman films, but also at the same time very dark and very like uber violent.
Right.
It's crazy. It's like they're trying to be as crazy as they possibly can.
And it's nice that this season they are having a continuing storyline.
Yep.
With events that occur every episode, but there's an ongoing storyline involving this Galavan guy and what he's really up to.
The show has got personality this year. It's not boring at all. It's very exciting.
I was sorry to see Jerome die.
Yeah.
Oh, spoiler. Sorry.
Brad and JF, are you guys watching? I know, Brad, you watched The Flash and Arrow, right?
Yes, I've seen the most recent episode of Flash. Have not seen Arrow or the most recent episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Did you watch the Arrow season premiere or no?
Yes.
What did you think of The Flash of Two Worlds?
It was amazing.
Yeah. I'm interested to see more of that Earth 2. Because
Yeah.
it looks like it has the look of the Golden Age, but in the modern day, like the 1940s,
Yeah.
but in a modern way.
Stylistically, it looks like they've gone with taking that 40s, 50s, and 60s design sensibilities and kind of push them together to make their own style of architecture, clothing, and it was just amazing. And it's a nice tip of the hat to the fact that the introduction of Earth 2 was in the Silver Age in the 60s, and they started to bring back the Golden Age characters from the 40s.
And he mentioned something about the War of the Americas.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
Yes, I did.
Which means there's an alternate history going on, like it's just slightly different.
Yeah.
Curious to find out more about that.
Well, in the comic books, I used to subscribe to JSA way back in the day, like when I was a teenager, and they said that each Earth had slightly different timelines, and that JSA looked like 1940s or 50s characters, even though they had modern technology.
Mm-hmm. That's what this seems to be too. There was also in this episode a lot of tips of the hat to DC, like the 52 different hotspots.
Yeah.
And also Dr. Stein explaining the whole Earth 1, Earth 2. Like he named Earth 1, Earth 2, and that's the way it is in the comic books.
Yeah, Anessa, does not have nearly the comic background that I do, and all these little things are popping up, and I'm like, hee, that's awesome.
And I don't have the knowledge that you have, but I still know enough, more than my wife Stephanie, that I'm
No
trying.
one has the knowledge that Brad has.
No, yeah.
Annie.
I agree. But I'm still like, you know what that means? You know what that means? If it's 52, I'm trying to explain all that. But
are they ever going to show up on Earth Prime, our boring Earth with no superheroes?
Well, I I don't know how they're going to structure that. And to be honest, they've mentioned that there's 52 portals, but they haven't been clear if it's 52 portals to Earth 2 or if it's 52 portals to the 52 different Earths.
Good point.
The thing that I think caution would be the word here. If they are writing and talking about Earth 2, I think that throwing, and there's 52 Earths total, and, this portal here takes you to this Earth would be very confusing. So they will either focus on a portal or two, or they will have all those 52 portals go to Earth 2, and maybe after they finish with Zoom, those portals change and they become entryways to other dimensions. Although it is being said now that Zoom has gone to other Earths to destroy other speedsters. So who's to say?
My theory is, and this is stuff that I've heard other people say, that each season is going to be focusing on a different Earth in some way. Like next season might be focusing on a different Earth, which could be interesting.
Yes and no. The way the 52 is kind of structured now, it's, you have an Earth that's like the Charlton characters, and you have an Earth that's like the Fawcett. Well, I think that they did that. The Fawcett characters. Then they have. God, I really wanted to get the map that they had from Comic-Con. What was it, 2 years ago, where they had restructured and kind of mapped out all 52 of the Earths and how the Speed Force. The way it is in the comics, if you were to look at the entire DC universe on a flat piece of paper, all right, there's 52 Earths kind of in a circle, and the thing that goes around that circle, it's like the big circle around the 52 Earths, is the Speed Force, which allows speedsters to be able to tap into the Speed Force, travel into it, and pass into another Earth. And that's how they at least explain it in the comics.
Okay.
So then there are other little side places that there's a group of beings that feed off of the Speed Force. It's very convoluted. So I could see them trying to be cautious and trying to keep it focused on just like an Earth 2 for now.
They have a lot that they can work with. So they have plenty of, I don't know the word I'm looking for. They have plenty of things to draw from.
Yeah.
So,
the other thing too, and if I were to speculate further, we've got Legends of Tomorrow, and Legends of Tomorrow, they're going to be jumping around in time. So I wonder if they're going to jump around in dimensions as well. So, or maybe that would be the second season. Who knows?
Jump around. Jump
Oh
around.
no! Please no.
Stop. Okay. All right. That's the news. If you have any feedback on the stories that we talked about tonight, let us know. You can email galacticnetcasts@gmail.com. Call our voicemail number, which is 805-328-3966, or jump onto our website at gncasts.com and click the left-hand side. There's a thing, record a voice message. Just do it directly through the website. It's pretty cool.
Do I have to put my pants on backwards now? I mean, what's that?
Well, crisscross does make you want to jump.
Jump.
They make me want to do a couple of things.
Jump out of a window.
All right, so every episode we do a big question. All right, and I figured Jeff is he reviews movies, not for a living, but he does it as part of his normal life. So I'm sure you've had a chance to see plenty of movies, and the question is movie-related this week. So here it is. What's your guilty pleasure sci-fi TV TV show, movie, comic book, video game, or whatever? Whatever, and you can have multiples. You don't have to have just one particular thing. So let's go around the room. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first,
JF.
since no one else
Yours.
is. My guilty pleasure is anything that has to do with Tron.
Yes.
And if you look at Tron, especially the original movie, it is ridiculous. It doesn't even try to be correct as far as computers is concerned. It focuses almost entirely on aesthetics. It does that thing I was saying about Star Wars earlier, where it goes, well, we could make sense, or we could have this really sick-ass looking light cycle, and a guy called Ram for some reason. Let's go with the light cycle, because it's a sick-ass light cycle. And even though the older movie holds up ish a bit, I think I think they could easily take those old frames, that old footage, reskin completely with the new look from Tron Legacy, and it would work. Like, you just have to colorize the black and white faces, use 3D models, which they can easily, to reskin the bodies, kind of do a 3D rotoscoping of that thing, and they could have like a totally remastered original Tron, and I would absolutely love that. And one of the things I thought was fantastic when they did Tron Legacy is I had this fear that they would retcon or try to explain the cheesiness of the first one. Not even for a second. Completely unapologetic about everything that doesn't make sense, that's cheesy, that's unscientific. Don't care. They're not there to explain any of that stuff. They just wrote a second movie. It was fun. It was exactly in the spirit of the first one, and they nailed it. And I want to see a third one, and I don't know if we're going to get it, but I don't care if it takes another 30 years. That's my guilty pleasure. I love Tron. I just adore the aesthetic.
Jeff, if you never get a chance to see another Tron movie, here's what you do. If you want to recreate your own Tron movie, you go to a dance club. Go to a dance club. You get the same lighting effect as you.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of teenagers at dance clubs, and I ain't got time for that.
That's true. That's
Fair
very.
enough.
But don't you get that though? It's the same lighting. It's like that whole.
Yeah, absolutely. Glow sticks and EL wire and all that stuff. And even the music, like all that Daft Punk, Vangelis stuff. That's why I listen to anyway. I don't care.
I'm surprised that nobody's come up with a concept club, like a Tron concept club. You know?
Oh, there's gotta be.
You can totally do it.
They're too busy building light cycles that you can actually drive on the road.
They're too slow. I've seen some of those, and they're like ponderous.
Well, they can't make those 90-degree turns like in the real thing. So.
No, that would throw the driver right off.
That's a physics problem right there.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Oh, but some of the vehicle designs they have for Tron Legacy. Oh. I think I'm gonna watch it to go to sleep tonight.
Right, so that's the definition. That's the epitome right there of a guilty pleasure. It's what would you put on the TV or the computer if you were trying to fall asleep. Not because it's boring, just because it puts you in that.
It's comforting.
Yeah, it's comfort food.
Yeah.
It's poutine.
And come on, Olivia Wilde.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I agree.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, Brad, are you ready to do your guilty pleasure? Or
My guilty pleasure? Yes.
Okay.
League of
Masturbating. No.
Oh, that's a given. Hello. Yeah.
Sorry, Dave.
What is this, a podcast of terror?
Podcast of masturbation. No, my guilty pleasure is League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
That's a good one.
Nope.
There.
Nope. Explain yourself, Mr. Ludwig. Justify this.
To me, what I like about it is, one, I don't have to really pay attention to it. It's not a deep or ponderous film. It is an action extravaganza, and it has a steampunk sensibility to it.
Not wrong.
To me, having read the first two series of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, how they got around not being able to use some of the characters and they put in Dorian Gray and Tom Sawyer, I thought that was kind of interesting so that they could round out the roster, as it were. And it just... I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot.
And they gave both of those two inserted characters major parts of the plot.
Yeah, they did.
They should have put Huckleberry Finn in that role. No, I mean, seriously, the way the character plays is a lot more in line with Huckleberry than it is with Tom Sawyer.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I've seen the movie. I'll admit to it.
How would you know? You're Canadian, JF.
Oh, he can read a book.
Oh,
what are you implying?
Dave,
The Canadians are
Dave.
stupid? What are you saying?
The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn is probably one of the two books I've read the most. I love those books.
I kid.
Look, I'm gonna be completely honest, since this is probably my last show with that joke about masturbation earlier. So I'm not gonna hold back.
No. What I said before about Podcast of Terror, we allow a podcast like that on Galactic Netcasts. You're fine. You could
good.
go a long way to get to their level of stuff going on that podcast. I made the mistake of giving them explicit, and they've taken it and run with it.
Way to go, boys. Way to go.
Good job, man.
Wow. Good move. Good
That
move.
makes me
No
so
regrets.
Is that all you got there, Brad? Is that
As to, do I have other guilty pleasures?
I mean, I was just wondering if you were done with that one, if you wanted to move on, or you got another one?
It's a good example of a guilty pleasure. I mean, this is not a very fondly regarded movie.
It's not. And to me, it's partially a shame because Alan, once you say, somebody's going to adapt an Alan Moore thing, everybody collectively goes, and it wasn't until Watchmen came out that I think that was kind of redeemed, because I think Watchmen was a spectacular film.
It was very well done. I don't care what anybody said.
Coming to HBO, by the way.
I will fight anybody who says, well, they should have put the psychic squid in.
No.
I will slap you.
No.
They'll have
the way they changed the ending was brilliant.
It was perfect.
They might have their chance with the Watchmen TV show on HBO.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what comes of that. And there's such a rich history, and they actually did a follow-up of the Watchmen and doing some more background on each of the characters.
And Alan Moore was not involved with that, was he?
No, God, Alan Moore would rather be stabbed, set on fire, and beheaded before he'd work for DC Comics ever again.
He's a wizard.
Well, he's a wizard who does not want to work for DC.
And he's not shy about telling you that.
No. Nope. Give him a pint and he'll tell you all about it for hours.
Give him half a pint.
A pint or a soapbox.
Who's the other artist, comic book artist, who's Irish? And I have this show that I watch. It was a show that was.
Are you talking about Mark Miller?
No.
Oh, I think he might be Scottish.
Irish. He's Irish. And it's killing me. I can never remember his name, but he's on this documentary that I watch from time to time. It's called Inked. It's kind of like a documentary series about comic books, and they always ask. He's always part of one of the, when they go to a certain person to talk about a certain thing, he's always there. So I don't.
He's a very big Batman author, isn't he? Doesn't he do a lot of Batman?
Who?
You're not talking about Denny O'Neil?
No, not Denny O'Neil. He's Irish. This guy's Irish. You know what? Forget I said anything. Let's move on.
Fair enough.
Jeff, what's your guilty
Yes.
pleasure?
Oh, well, I need to go back to the other two because I kind of agree with you on League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. If I run across it on TV, I'm locked in for a while. And Tron, the original Tron, was the first movie that I took my then not quite girlfriend, now wife, to 30 plus years ago. So I have a soft spot in my heart for Tron. But my guilty pleasure is Lost in Space, the TV show.
The
Oh,
TV.
not the movie? Because the movie
Well,
would be a good guilty pleasure
The
too.
movie is
It's-
pretty awful.
It is
but,
terrible.
Yes. But the TV show makes the movie look like it is an Academy Award winner. The TV show is, and granted,
Wait. 2 words. Matt LeBlanc.
you have a point.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
Gary Oldman is Dr. Smith. I mean, it's a terrible movie, but it has good points. But the TV show was so campy and so cheaply made, and I have to only say the giant talking carrot, and everybody knows what I'm talking about. It is just so awful, but as a child, when I would watch those, it just made me happy. The ones where they were in space were my favorites, much like the Star Trek episodes where they stayed in space, never went to a planet. And the kid, Billy Mummy, who I think has recently been put in a hospital for some reason. But the fact that the kid was friends with the robot and those two were the best people on the ship, even though they were nice to Dr. Smith, even though he constantly was trying to get back to Earth with or without them, the dynamic of the kid and the robot, kind of like a kid and his dog, worked for me as a kid myself. There's occasionally you'll pop across one on cable somewhere, on, I don't know, Nick at Night or something like that, and I'm just mesmerized sometimes. Now, granted, a lot of it's crap. I'll happily admit that, but Lost in Space is, for me, the kind of guilty pleasure that brings back a lot of warm memories.
Nice.
Dave, remind me. Was it on this show that I coined the term Will Robinson's rape whistle, referring to the robot?
I don't.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Right?
I don't remember. You may have, and I might have blocked it out.
I think
That would be wise.
I think Family Guy implied Dr. Smith was a pedophile, or
A lot of
Simpsons,
people
one
have
or the
implied
other.
that.
No,
But
he doesn't
that's
seem
okay.
like one at all.
He looks particularly creepy. There's a cast photo. I'm pretty sure it's easy to find on the internet where the doctor has like these big eyes looking at the camera and looks completely out of place next to the rest of the wholesome family, and he looks like a creeper.
Yeah, I think I know that picture you're talking about. Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, it's a good guilty pleasure, but I can more easily see nostalgia from it than say Brad's terrible choice.
Thank you.
I'm glad I didn't say the Dragon Ball Z movie. That could have also been
I haven't seen it, so I can't judge it as harshly.
the
But
live-action Dragon Ball Z movie.
oh my god. Why?
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
All right, so there we go. Our guilty pleasure, go-to sci-fi stuff. I have a couple. I don't want to dwell on mine for very, very long, just because I really don't have a lot to say about them. They're just stuff they're just TV shows that I go to that I enjoy every time I watch them. It's Space 1999.
That was such a depressing show.
But it was part of my childhood. Like, it was in a formative part of my childhood where I used to actually take the chairs from our dining room and our tables are in our any kind of furniture in our house and actually make the control. I don't know what they called the control center of the space of the what they call it, the moon
Moonbase Alpha.
Moonbase Alpha, yeah. I used to play act that I was on Moonbase Alpha as part of Space 1999. Now, because I just loved the aesthetic, I loved the music, I loved the cheesy special effects, I loved the eagle, what they called, they were just called eagles, right?
Can we take a moment to talk about the aesthetics of Space 1999? Because that is something that I've noticed for some reason. Of all the sci-fi shows of that time, like if you look at any movies, any television show, anything, of all of them, for some reason, Space 1999 is the one that nailed what the current aesthetic of what the space program has to offer the closest. And that is bizarre because everything else was so far out in that show. But you look at the Eagle and you figure, yeah, that kind of looks like it would work, knowing what we know today.
Yeah, it took it took pieces of like the Apollo program and kind of just updated them, and fast forward 20 some years from 1969 to 1999. That's 20 years, right? 30 years, yeah. What that would look like in 30 years, and they pretty much nailed it with that technology. Now, how the moon got out of our gravitational field, I have no idea. That'd have to be one hell of an explosion, right?
They probably blamed it on nukes because that's what you blamed everything at the time.
Well, there was a nuclear waste dump on the opposite side of the moon.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it became visible. It blew up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it kept on going. The moon kept on going. I don't know how that worked either. But I saw a couple of years ago that they were working on a reboot of the series, and I still hope it happens. And I hope they do it. They give it a proper explanation as to how that happens. How the moon
wormholes. It's the only way they'll explain what's going on with that moon.
Yeah, wormhole. I agree. All right, and my other one is Space Above and Beyond. Are you guys familiar with that show?
I am.
Yes.
Yes, I'm aware of it. I don't know that I saw more than a couple of episodes when it was out.
Oh, good. I was so pissed off when they canceled it because it was like a straight up it took the closest thing to what it looked like, and the feel for it was, what was that movie? They also fought aliens.
Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers, thank you. It had a very Starship Trooper feel to it, but in a weekly series form. And I thought it captured that, and it captured, like a Battlestar Galactica before it was rebooted. It kind of had that feel to it as well. It was, and I liked the technology they used, the way that the fighters kind of got sucked into, or how they docked with the battleship. It was really cool. I liked it a lot, and I was mad. I was sad when it was canceled after only, I think, one season. But yay, sometimes good things don't last. For example, Firefly.
That's very true.
But those are my guilty pleasures. So that pretty much does it for. Oh no, we have recommendations yet. Oh my God. I can't believe I almost forgot recommendations. Are you guys ready to do some recommendations?
Sure thing.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. One thing, though, before we do recommendations, I do want to remind everybody to check out our website, gncasts.com. We have links galore to various things, including our other podcasts. For example, the one that Brad does, Adventure Party. I almost forgot the name.
That thing, the one with the guy?
The Adventure Party podcast of terror. We have the Alien Invasion podcast. We have this podcast, and then we have the smaller, the Doctor Who one, and the Galactic Gaming. Oh, and Weird World Weekly as well. So we have links to all those, plus subscription links as well at gncasts.com. You can find this podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, and if you get your podcast through either of those, make sure that you either give us a thumbs up on Stitcher or 5 stars on iTunes, because that helps us get more subscribers, and the more the merrier, I say. Okay, now recommendations time. Let's start with The Martian. We had the last episode of this podcast. We had The Martian's author on, Andy Weir, for the second time, which was very exciting.
Yeah, it was.
Have you guys all seen The Martian since it came out?
Yep.
I have not, because going to the movies here in Montreal is a goddamn nightmare, but it is high on my priority list.
Okay, so we won't be too spoilery.
Oh, no, spoil away. There's a guy stuck on Mars, he makes it back, grows potatoes. I get it.
Have you read the book?
No, not yet. I've told you about my weird theory about books as expanded universe for movies, right?
No. I don't think.
Okay, basically it goes like this. If I know there's a movie coming out of a book, I will hold off on reading the book, because usually when a movie is really good and you walk out of the movie, you say, I would like more of this. And if there's a book available, then you can read the book and get more. Otherwise, if you read the book and then you go see the movie, inevitably there's going to be less in the movie than in the book, and you go, oh man, I wish there was that one scene in the book that's not there, and you get pissed. And so I'd rather have the positive experience.
And that would be the case with The Martian, although they didn't take out much. There was a couple of pretty major parts that they did not include in the movie, which I can see why they didn't, because they make cuts. I mean, they make decisions to cut certain things. And Brad, do you agree with me? Did they need those parts that they cut?
I have not seen the film yet.
Oh, you haven't?
Nope, not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, The Martian's my recommendation.
Oh, I'll take that recommendation and go see it. I'm hungry for theater popcorn anyways.
Yeah, Jeff, you said that you saw it, right?
Yes, I did. I saw it, and I thought it was fantastic.
Did you read the book?
I did not.
Okay. All right. Well.
Are you gonna?
I would much rather watch a movie of a book than read a book of a movie.
Okay.
Just try to wrap that around your head. I know it didn't make any sense when I said it.
Embrace the power of and do both.
Okay, we've covered The Martian quite a bit on this podcast. I mean, we've devoted 2 full podcasts episodes to the author. So all I've got to say is it's well worth the watch. If you haven't read the book, go see the movie. If you have read the book, go see the movie. Either way, it's enjoyable. It's very true to the book. I know Andy discussed that with us, that the screenwriter was very much in contact with him, and I thought the screenwriter actually added quite a bit. Like he kept in the spirit of the book the stuff that he added. And I encourage you all to check out The Martian in theaters, and it's kicking ass too. It's like, I think it's either the #1 October release in history, or it's pretty close to setting that record.
Nice.
Yeah. So.
And even if it doesn't, I think it's gonna be remembered as this. I don't want to say generation, but this time period, 2001. It's a very realistic, hard sci-fi movie that actually performs well with good acting and good directing. We haven't had that in a while.
And it's Ridley Scott's actually his first fairly decent movie in a while, because what was the last thing he did? He did the.
Let's not be too mean on Prometheus. There's some dumb things in there, but I think we were expecting something different. It's not a bad movie.
Yeah. But I think what also The Martian does is it kickstarts science, the interest in science. It kickstarts the interest in Mars. Like I think NASA's really ran with the whole, let's take the momentum from The Martian and let's get people excited even more about the possibility of going to Mars.
I'm gonna not contradict you, but sort of maybe disagree with you a little, in the sense that I don't think it's kickstarting as much as it's kind of synergizing. I mean,
yeah, that's a better word. That's a better word to use. Yeah,
it's all kind of happening together and feeding off each other. So it's kind of cool how it's creating this sort of feedback loop of excitement for space exploration.
Yeah, I agree. I saw an article this week saying that NASA is looking for, they're crowdsourcing ideas for us to live on Mars, or how could we live on Mars, aka, i.e., what's his name? What's the character's name?
Watney?
Watney?
Mark Watney, thank you. I.e. Mark Watney growing potatoes on Mars. What are some other things that we could do to actually live on Mars? And it's cool that they're, it seems like more of a reality. Plus, I also read that SpaceX.
Elon Musk?
Elon Musk is going to make an announcement about their future plans to get to Mars before the end of the year, which is also very exciting. So lots of Mars yet to come this year, it sounds like.
Right. I think SpaceX has like these this motto, "Occupy Mars." It's a huge deal for Elon Musk and for SpaceX to get there. Everything that they're doing right now with their entire space program is just a stepping stone to getting to Mars.
I mean, for God's sakes, he was on Colbert, talking about how he wants to create those fake suns on the poles to feed the atmosphere, to kickstart the atmosphere, which is...
Yes, he wants to melt the carbon dioxide on the poles to increase the greenhouse effect.
Because that's one thing that's almost, I would dare say, unique about SpaceX and Elon Musk. SpaceX has a mission statement that is essentially stretches about 1,000 years. The whole point is colonizing Mars, and that's their mission statement. And this is a mission statement that clearly goes beyond the founder and CEO's lifespan.
Yeah.
And that is both ambitious and inspiring.
And meanwhile, they're doing stuff that's firmly planted on Earth, like the Hyperloop and the incredible new battery technology and solar technology. So it's not just Mars. They're not just looking into space. They're looking here on Earth too.
Yeah, but to a certain point, like, it goes back to the whole synergizing thing. If you want to get to Mars, you need things to be at a certain level here before you go there. So the idea of pushing civilization forward on many fronts at once helps that one goal. Like, obviously, SpaceX's goal is colonizing or going to Mars, or Mars-related things. That doesn't mean it's Tesla's main goal, but it all feeds Elon Musk's dream of just having human civilization move and leap forward.
It sounds like Elon Musk is inspired by Mars in everything he does, because they also, in the latest Tesla car software update, they made the cars so that they're self-drivable. I.e. Johnny Cab, which was on Total Recall, which went to Mars.
Johnny Cab, yeah. But think about it. Like, what other fields would, like, super efficient batteries be used for, or solar energy? Where else can you apply that? Colonization. Like, everything sort of ties back to that one goal. It's inspiring how it all works, and I would be curious to see how much of it is just trying to have successful companies to make money and just run business, do business for business, and how much of it is just like this Machiavellian super villain plan to go colonize Mars.
So Elon Musk is basically Lex Luthor, is what you're saying.
Yes, it's Lex Luthor if he didn't get all paranoid about an alien super god showing up.
Okay.
Well, Colbert said he was a supervillain, so.
Well, have you seen his Twitter avatar? No, seriously, it's Elon Musk holding a big white fluffy cat.
Colbert or Elon Musk's?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, yeah.
He knows who he is. He knows what he's doing.
And he has $1 billion.
Yes, probably more at this point.
JF, do you want to do your recommendation?
Absolutely. And some people might say this, I don't want to say pandering, but recently I've decided to sort of start plowing through the enormous list of books that I'm behind on. Mostly because I have more books coming in from successful Inkshare campaigns that I've financed, and I need to sort of catch up. And one of the things that sort of boiled to the top of my list is Tom Merritt's Citadel 32. since I'm doing some self-publishing or indie publishing myself, I figured I should probably start reading some stuff from some of my contemporaries, other authors that are just starting out, if only to encourage them, but also to sort of know what else is being done at that level of publishing. So I read Tom Merritt's Citadel 32, Tale of the Aggregate, and I was very happy with it. I was I'll be honest, I hope Tom doesn't listen to this, but I was dreading it because whenever someone says indie publishing, I always think, subpar publishing, especially self-publishing things, because more often than not, they don't necessarily go through the best editing process, and sometimes self-publishing also means vanity press. But Citadel 32 manages to do something that's kind of unique in its own genre, which is tell two stories, one set on Earth, one set on the moon, and have them never completely connect except in the most tenuous little threads, and still have it make sense, which was very interesting. It's not a long book. It's very short, so it's worth your time if only for that. The one disappointment, which is not the worst thing in the world, is that there is a lot of holes in the story. Not necessarily plot points that are missing because they're necessary for the tale to make sense, but more like some of the fluff elements, some of the background elements that you wish you knew more, just to put more meat on the bones of the story. Because they are interesting. There's some of the background that you think to yourself as you're reading it, I wish I could know more about this, but then the book immediately moves on to the next thing, and you're kind of left hungry for more of that background information. What I would like to see is either an expansion on the background through more books in that universe, or if Tom would write like a second edition and double the size and put more of a B plot and more information about the different characters and more information about the world, I think that would make it a much more substantial, much more interesting book. But otherwise, it's a nice, quick read. It's good sci-fi. It's got some interesting ideas and subjects. Some of it's kind of derivative from Canonical from Leibowitz, and maybe even a bit of Space 1999 when you think of self-sustaining moon base, if you will. But it still kind of manages to find its own voice. So that would be my recommendation.
Did he write that during NaNoWriMo?
Yes, from what I understand, Tom's books, most of them are NaNoWriMo books that he writes during November, and then spends a few months kind of like re-editing, rewriting, cleaning up, and then outputting.
And he did he offer a free PDF version of this one?
I think there's still a way of getting a free PDF version.
Yeah.
I mean, I would recommend buying it, if only because I like the idea of people buying indie author books because I'm one.
Yeah, I'm guessing that his electronic version is pretty cheap too, right?
Oh yeah. I bought it and I still managed to feed myself, so I think it shouldn't be too hard. Let me go check really quick. I'll give you the.
And I believe that there's the hardcover version of it features art by Scott Johnson too, if I'm not mistaken. Which might
there is, if you go to tommerrittbooks.com, you can get a free PDF edition if you're cheap and a terrible person that doesn't encourage the arts. Otherwise, if you want the Kindle version, it's a measly $3.81. So
yeah. It's not
come
really
on.
breaking the bank too much.
Yeah, it's a $15 physical book. If you have Amazon Prime, it'll have free delivery. So there isn't really a good excuse. There's no excuse not to read it. There's very few excuses that are acceptable not to actually buy an electronic copy. And I mean, if you're a decent human being with a heart, you'll buy a physical copy. Now, I didn't buy a physical copy because I'm a monster, but I at least got the Kindle version.
All right. Now that JF has guilted us, let's move on to Jeff's recommendation. Thank you, JF. Great pick.
My pleasure.
Jeff. See, I knew that was going to happen one of these days.
That's all right.
Jeff, what's your recommendation? What do you got?
Well, my recommendation is the Manhattan Projects. It is projects, plural. It is an alternate history after World War II where the Manhattan Project was actually a cover for a bunch of super geniuses and aliens and portals to other dimensions and all kinds of weirdness, but it uses the names and semi-likenesses of the real people. It is available, I think, in 5 graphic novel collections, and it's just insane, but it's insane in a really good way. So it's difficult to put into words what this is, but it's very entertaining. And if I could give you a second one, this isn't sci-fi really, it's sci-fact. It's a streaming service called Curiosity Stream. I'm getting it through my Roku, and there is a monthly charge for it, but it is fact-based documentaries on everything from the New Horizons probe to the crazy guy who's trying to settle Mars, on the one-way trip to Mars people.
Mars One, right?
Yeah, Mars One, thank you. And as well as about the Hubble Space Telescope. It also has history specials. It's really fascinating stuff, all commercial-free, and you can get it for as little as $3 a month.
Love that kind of stuff. I'm a big science proponent, interested in science a lot. What's it called?
Curiosity Stream.
Curiosity Stream. Okay.
It's also available on all your various, you can watch it on your PC, laptop, tablet, smartphone, and you can get it through some of the streaming devices.
So it's like basically a full-time stream that you don't. It's not. You don't have a choice as to what you watch. It's just whatever's on there at the time.
No. You have whatever you want to watch amongst all of their various programs.
Okay. All right. Cool. So those are our recommendations. Those are things that we advise you. We demand that you take part in if you want.
Wait, did Brad recommend something?
If he didn't write anything down, I don't know if he's got anything. Brad, do you have anything?
Right now my recommendation would be Flash.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Season 1 is on Netflix, so you can catch up. The season just started. We're second episode?
Yep.
Of Flash for season
Depending
2.
on where you are in the world.
Yeah.
Daryl Johnston just got done with I think episode 1. I think they're in the UK. They're about a week behind us.
Okay, gotcha.
It's also available on Hulu Plus, the current episodes.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's how I'm watching it, is through Hulu. So, the first season was amazing. Such a great foundation for that world, and tying Arrow in with that and making a combined universe for CW was a pretty cool idea. And now season 2 is really off to a great start, building off of everything that they've constructed so far, but also changing what we've known about Flash a little bit. And they've just really cleverly have constructed something that's very interesting. And the villain for this season almost comes dangerously close to being a retread of last season's villain, but there's a lot of, and we're only on episode 2, and there's going to be 24, 25 episodes this season, so there's a lot of ground to cover. And someone returns that you thought you wouldn't see again, and that's the beauty of having parallel universes. So
and Zoom is similar to last season's Big Bad, but it's different enough. Plus Tony Todd's voice, which you cannot beat. That guy, he's got
there's the Candyman's voice. Yeah.
Just
also
Morse
brother. Yep. Also the elder, or the grown-up Jake Sisko from Deep Space Nine.
Oh yeah.
That episode. Oh, speaking of recommendations, I recommend that episode. That's an incredible episode. I forget the name of it, but watch it. Find it, watch it. Tony Todd on D Space Nine. All right, cool. Those are you done, Brad?
Yeah, I am done.
All right. Those are our recommendations, and we'll put the links to those in the show notes of the podcast so you can enjoy them as well. All right. Please subscribe to our podcasts. Our podcasts, plural. We have a whole bunch of them here on the Galactic Netcast Network. Go to gncasts.com and click on subscribe. Also, while you're there, make sure that you click on the Become a Member of the Galactic Collective, and that will take you to an information page on how you can do that. And basically, you are signing up to be like an Uber supporter of us, just like Jeff Cutshaw did. And we thank Jeff for doing that. He pledged $5 a month to our Patreon campaign, and his perk is he got to be on an episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club, and we are so glad you did, Jeff.
Well, thank you. I enjoy buying my way into people's affections.
That's what I do too.
That's how the world works. It's a
Yeah.
valuable lesson to learn.
Jeff,
Why do you think Trump's leading the polls here in America?
yes, we're just taking advantage. You know, we're just carrying on what people are successful at doing. You know, you want to grease the palms? You want to grease our palms? That's fine. You know, do it. But you know what? We're not trying to be rich here. We're just trying to cover our essential costs like audio and web hosting and some advertising. So if you want to do what Jeff did and pledge $5 a month to our Patreon campaign, patreon.com/galacticnetcasts, and we'll book you as a guest here on the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. Where can people find you and your stuff online, Jeff?
Well, you can follow me on Twitter @MovieManStan. You can go to my page for my movie reviews, stanthemovieman.com. Send emails, stanthemovieman@comcast.net. Otherwise, as myself, I'm pretty dull.
Okay, don't.
I disagree, but okay.
You're an interesting dude, Jeff. Don't sell yourself short.
Gosh, thanks.
I definitely want to have you back on the show, Jeff.
Oh, thank you. I'd love to come back.
All right. JF started that way too, and we can't get rid of him. So
in a good way.
You had to pay to go on. They pay me to stay away.
JF Dubeau, thanks for coming on again. What do you got going on? I know you have a couple of Inkshares things happening.
Well, right. I've got my books. Like the books thing is kind of, I don't want to say taking off because it's not like I can quit my job yet. But I'm super involved in that, and I'm super enjoying it and excited by it. I've started bothering people to get book blurbs. Yeah, go buy my goddamn books. You can find that at jfdubeau.com/books. That's jfdubeau.com/books. You can spell books. You're smart. And do you want us to plug that little meetup we want to do at CanCon?
I was actually looking up the place. I forget the name of the place, but we're doing
Three Brewers, but there's two in Ottawa, so let's not send people to the wrong one.
Yeah, we're doing a meetup on Halloween night because JF's going to be in Ottawa. So we're kind of doing a combination Galactic Netcast listeners, fans and followers of JF and his book, and also the Tadpool from the Frog Pants Network, since we're heavily involved with those guys as well. And anybody on Alpha Geek Radio, if you're in the Ottawa, Gatineau area, southeast Ontario, southwest.
God damn it! Use Google Maps, you fool. You know how it works. If you don't know where Ottawa is, just figure it out.
If you're in the area, please stop by. What's the name of the place again?
It's called the Three Brewers. We're going to be meeting at what we said, 5:36.
I'm looking. Hang on. I want to make sure. We're really organized, aren't we?
Oh, terribly. That is well done. Well, while you're looking it up, I also want to plug that the next day on November 1st at 2 p.m. for CanCon, I will be participating on a panel about ink shares and crowdfunding and different ways of getting published through independent support. So if you're going to CanCon or even if you're not and you want to go to CanCon, it seems like a pretty decent con. Just show up, come to the panel, and you can hear me yammer, which is obviously thrilling since you haven't quit listening yet.
5:30 p.m. at Three Brewers in downtown Ottawa.
Fantastic, and they've got good food and good beer, I hear.
So come by, have dinner, and just hang out for a while. And costumes are optional since it is Halloween.
True enough. I'll have some prints for anybody that's interested in what I do and cares about that. I plan on bringing 5, which should be plenty.
All right.
Nice.
So we'll see everybody there, and that's going to do it for this episode of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club. I'm Dave Nelson on behalf of Brad, Corey, Matt. Hang on, I'm never ready for this. I'm never ready. Matt.
I did.
Who else is on the list there? Anessa, Gregor, Mark, JF, and Jeff. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Thanks, Dave.
Good night, Dave.
Nighty-night.
All right, hang on.